We live surrounded by promises. Algorithms whisper that you're just one click away from happiness. Influencers sell you lifestyles as if they were formulas for a meaningful life. We eat, scroll, consume, react, always chasing something, always expecting the next relief, the next reward, the next pleasure. But beneath all this noise, there's an unsettling silence, a strange feeling that no matter how fast you run, you never arrive. No matter how much you consume, it never fills you. And perhaps most disturbing of all, no matter how much you achieve, it never feels like enough. Maybe you're trapped in this cycle right now, stuck in desires that seem like yours but were installed in you without permission. Wants that aren't born from your inner voice, but from external comparison. The desire to be more attractive, wealthier, more admired, more desired. The desire to win, even if you don't know why. The desire to please, even at the cost of your own self. The desire to prove your worth, even if you lose yourself in the process. And this is where Stoicism enters the conversation, a philosophy born in the chaos of ancient Greece, amid wars, slavery, and social collapse, but which has become one of the most powerful tools to survive inner confusion. The Stoics understood a brutal truth. We don't suffer because of things themselves, but because of the desires we attach them to. Epictetus, once a slave who became one of history's greatest thinkers, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And no reaction is more corrosive than the one rooted in a blind craving for what lies beyond your control. That's the invisible trap of desire. It keeps us projected into the future, always expecting, always waiting to become someone else. And in that wait, we forget to live. Worse yet, we begin to measure our worth by what we don't yet have. And so we live in permanent debt with life. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote in his journal, "You can break free at any moment. All it takes is a different way of seeing." That line, written by one of the most powerful men in history, isn't about rejecting everything. It's about recognizing that uncontrolled desire is the most subtle form of modern slavery. Think for a moment. How many decisions have you made that were never really yours? How many times have you pursued something just because others did? How many of your wants were planted by advertising, by comparison, by childhood wounds? Modern psychology calls this mimetic desire, a theory by René Girard which shows that most of our desires aren't truly our own, but reflections of what others want. We want what others want. We imitate, compete, envy, often unconsciously. Stoicism teaches the opposite, autonomy of desire, the power to choose what is valuable for you, the ability to redefine what is essential, the strength to ask yourself, honestly, is this truly something I want, or just something I was taught to want? And that's the pivot point, because when you begin to examine your desires through philosophical clarity, you realize that many of them aren't even desires. They're distractions. They're ways to numb your anxiety. They're desperate attempts to fill a void with stimulation. But the void is not filled with more. It's filled with less. Less illusion, less attachment, less need for external validation. Seneca, another Stoic master, wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." And if you observe the world today, you'll see that modern poverty is no longer about material lack, It's emotional emptiness. It's the scarcity of presence, a constant state of wanting something undefined, unreachable, but deeply felt as missing. Here is where Stoic philosophy becomes medicine. Because it doesn't offer relief from symptoms, it treats the root of the suffering. The problem isn't the world, it's how we've been conditioned to react to the world. We've been taught that happiness is accumulation, that peace is victory, that worth is results. But the Stoics flip the script. Happiness is alignment. Peace is clarity. Worth is living by your principles, not your impulses. Behavioral psychology today calls this mindfulness, the ability to be conscious of your emotions, thoughts, and automatic behaviors. But the Stoics spoke of this 2,000 years ago. They called it proche, full attention, the daily practice of observing your mind, of dissecting your impulses, of distinguishing between what depends on you and what doesn't. It sounds simple, but it's revolutionary. Because the moment you start doing this seriously, you'll discover that much of your suffering is optional. The endless craving for more is fueled by a hidden belief that you'll only be happy once you achieve X. But that X always moves. Today, it's a phone. Tomorrow, it's a body. Then a partner. Then a paycheck. And before you know it, your whole life has been spent chasing goals that were never really yours, and worse, never gave you peace. Stoicism doesn't ask you to renounce everything, but it does invite you to ask one essential question before every desire. Is this necessary? Marcus Aurelius did this constantly. He looked at his ambitions and asked, does this align with the nature of my soul, or is it just vanity in disguise? When you start filtering your desires through that lens, your world changes. External noise loses its power. Emotional marketing stops affecting you, and comparison dissolves. Because you no longer measure yourself by what others do. You begin to move by internal principles. This is the Stoic proposal. It's not about becoming a monk. It's not about total renunciation. It's about intentional living. About not being a slave to the next reward. About not needing something outside of you to validate your existence. And most of all, it's about realizing that true strength is to be at peace, even when nothing around you is.
The modern world profits from your discontent. Every ad you see, every notification you receive, every trend you're told to follow, all of it is designed to awaken a desire. And not just any desire, a desire that makes you feel like you're not enough, that there's something missing, that until you buy it, become it, show it, you remain incomplete. But Stoicism tears through this illusion because it tells you a radical truth. You are already whole, but you've been distracted from your own essence. This isn't self-help fluff. It's a deeply philosophical and psychological stance. The Stoics believed that the human being is complete by nature. We lack nothing internally. What disturbs us is our mistaken belief that fulfillment lies outside. The moment you internalize this, something breaks, the cycle of compulsive seeking. Modern psychology calls this shift internal locus of control, the belief that your sense of peace and power comes from within, not from events, not from people, not from achievements, but from how you interpret and respond to them. And that's where real transformation begins, because the moment you stop outsourcing your peace, you become untouchable. This doesn't mean you never feel desire. It means desire no longer drives your life. It becomes a tool, not a master. You begin to use desire intentionally. You channel it into growth, creativity, discipline. You stop chasing highs and start building depth. Marcus Aurelius, ruling the largest empire of his time, still practiced voluntary discomfort. He would sleep on hard surfaces, walk without luxury, reflect on loss, not because he was punishing himself, but because he knew comfort makes us weak if unexamined, and unchecked desire makes us slaves. He trained his mind to detach from what he could lose so that he could live with freedom, not fear. That's the paradox of modern life. We have more than ever before, yet feel emptier than ever. Why? Because what's increased isn't only comfort, it's craving, and craving, unchecked, destroys contentment. Seneca warned about this 2,000 years ago. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. When you crave something, you begin to imagine all the ways it will make you happier. You project, you idealize, but when you get it, reality rarely matches the fantasy, and then you're left with a bitter aftertaste. So you chase the next thing, and the next, and the next. The Stoic solution isn't to suppress your feelings, but to examine your thoughts. What are you attaching yourself to? What are you expecting that reality never promised? What illusion are you clinging to that keeps breaking your peace? In this sense, Stoicism is deeply psychological. It's cognitive restructuring, thousands of years before modern therapy gave it that name. It invites you to look at your automatic thoughts and ask, is this helping me or hurting me? Desire, in Stoic terms, is not evil, but desire without reason is dangerous. And in a world where algorithms know you better than you know yourself, desire can easily be hijacked. You think you want something, but it's your nervous system reacting to engineered stimuli. You think you made a choice, but it was made for you by data, by design, by emotional targeting. Breaking free from this requires vigilance, daily practice, self-inquiry, journaling, reflection, and a constant return to the core question: does this lead me closer to virtue or further into illusion? Virtue for the Stoics isn't moral superiority, it's alignment with your best self. It's living with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. When you prioritize these values, your desires begin to purify. You no longer want what weakens you. You no longer crave what distracts you. You want what strengthens you, even if it's harder, even if it takes longer, even if no one applauds it. This is the ultimate rebellion. In a world screaming more, you whisper, enough. In a world obsessed with appearance, you build substance. In a world addicted to validation, you find peace in solitude, and that makes you free. But freedom, real freedom, has a price. The price is honesty. You'll have to admit how often you've betrayed your own values for a fleeting desire. You'll have to face how much time you've wasted chasing what never belonged to you. You'll have to accept the discomfort of not chasing every craving. Yet, what you gain is priceless: clarity, peace, strength, direction. You stop trying to impress and start trying to improve. You stop pretending and start becoming. You stop consuming compulsively and begin creating intentionally. This is Stoicism applied to real life, not as a distant philosophy, but as a lived practice, a daily choice to be present, to be deliberate, to be free. And now, maybe for the first time, you can pause and ask, which desires are actually mine? Which ones make me smaller? Which ones make me stronger? What do I want when no one is watching? What do I value when no one is validating me? This is the space where transformation happens, not in some peak moment of motivation, but in quiet honesty, in choosing presence over projection, stillness over stimulation, essence over image. And if this resonated with you, if you feel that subtle but powerful shift in perspective, then stay with us. Subscribe to the channel. This is a place for those who are tired of shallow self-help and want something deeper, for those who no longer want to escape life but to truly live it.
through philosophy, through psychology, through the clarity of Stoicism. Because in the end, what you've been chasing all along was never the object. It was the peace you imagined it would bring. And that peace, you can find it now, not by adding more, but by needing less, with wisdom. See you in the next reflection.